So when one country gives another hundreds of millions of dollars after a disaster, what's really going on? Is it just pure generosity? Or is there, a hidden playbook at work? We're going to break it all down because this massive aid package tells a fascinating story about how modern foreign policy actually works. $450 million. Just let that number sink in for a second. That's the amount India announced it was sending to Sri Lanka after it was absolutely battered by Cyclone Ditwah. Now, this isn't just a number, it is a huge statement. But what exactly is it saying? And that leads us to the big question, right? Is this just a generous gift to a neighbor that's in a world of hurt? Or is it a carefully calculated, strategic investment that has layers of self-interest baked right in? The answer, as you're about to see, is pretty complex, and it reveals a ton about the world we live in. Okay, first things first, let's get a picture of what was happening on the ground. Cyclone Ditwah wasn't just some storm, it was a complete catastrophe for Sri Lanka. I mean, it ripped through communities, destroying homes, crippling major ports, and just tearing down the country's power grid. For an economy that was already kind of fragile, a shock like this could trigger a full-blown humanitarian crisis. So India's response was designed to be more than just a band-aid. The whole package was designed with two goals in mind: tackle the immediate emergency, for sure, but also look ahead to the long, hard road of rebuilding. And here's how they did it, which is actually pretty smart. On one hand, you've got the immediate grants. Think of this as the emergency cash, money for food, clean water, medicine, and shelter to help people who literally lost everything. But on the other hand, you have long-term credit. This is the money for the big stuff: rebuilding the power grid, constructing stronger houses, and reinforcing the coast for the next storm. And this credit, it isn't like a typical bank loan. It's what's known as concessional credit. That's just a fancy way of saying it's a loan with way better terms, lower interest rates, and a lot more time to pay it back. The whole point is to help Sri Lanka rebuild without bearing it under a mountain of debt, which, let's be honest, would just create a whole new crisis down the line. Okay, so all of this makes perfect sense from a humanitarian point of view, but the speed and the sheer scale of this response, it makes you wonder, why this specific, kind of sophisticated help, and why was India so incredibly quick to step in? To answer that, we need to start peeling back the layers. All right, let's peel back that first layer. And it has nothing to do with compassion, actually. It's all about geography. It comes down to a simple fact: where Sri Lanka is on the map is incredibly important. Just look at it. The island sits right in the middle of some of the most vital sea lanes on the entire planet. A huge chunk of the world's oil and container ships sail right past its shores every single day. So you can see why a stable Sri Lanka is a massive strategic interest for a major regional power like India. If Sri Lanka is stable, that means sea routes are secure, ports are working, and there's less risk of things like piracy. It also means there isn't a power vacuum that a rival country might try to fill. So helping Sri Lanka get back on its feet quickly, that's also an investment in your own security. And that strategic piece, well, that leads us right to the next layer: power and partnership. See, this isn't just about preventing bad things from happening. It's about actively building up your own influence and goodwill in the region. This isn't a one-off thing. Not at all. If you look at this timeline, a really clear pattern starts to emerge. The 2004 tsunami, the COVID pandemic, Sri Lanka's economic crisis back in 2022, and now this cyclone. In every single major regional crisis, India has made sure it's the first responder, the reliable partner that shows up first with real, meaningful help. And doing this over and over again builds something incredibly valuable: soft power. That's the ability to influence other countries not by force, but because they respect you and want to partner with you. By being the neighbor that always shows up, India strengthens its diplomatic ties and cements its role as the leading power in the region. But wait, we're not done yet. Beyond the geopolitics and the diplomacy, there's a third, very practical layer to all of this. It turns out, foreign aid can also be really, really good for business. Here's how it works. India provides the credit to Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka then uses that money to pay for huge reconstruction projects. Now, here's the key part. Often, that credit comes with strings attached, encouraging or even requiring that Indian companies get the contracts. So Indian construction and engineering firms get the jobs, which creates revenue back home. It's a cycle that ends up making the economic ties between the two countries even stronger. Okay, so let's take a breath and put all these pieces together. We've got a genuine humanitarian crisis, a critical strategic location, a play for diplomatic influence, and some very clear economic incentives. Let's see how they all fit. When you lay it all out like this, it becomes super clear. You see all these different motives working at the same time. The humanitarian goal is to save lives. The strategic goal is to secure the region. The diplomatic goal is to build soft power. And the economic goal is to create new business. You see, none of them cancels the others out. They all work together in this calculated blend. It's really easy to get lost in all this high-level strategy and geopolitics. But we have to ask the most important question of all. With all these different motivations in the mix, what does this actually mean for the Sri Lankan people whose lives were just turned upside down? And this is what it all boils down to. Regardless of the complex motives behind the money, the impact on the ground is real. It means homes get rebuilt, schools and hospitals get repaired. It means the power comes back on so small businesses can reopen their doors. At the end of the day, it means a faster recovery and a chance to build back even stronger. The why might be complicated, but the what is life-changing for a lot of people. And this whole idea we've been exploring, well, it has a name. This is strategic compassion. It's a foreign policy where helping others and helping yourself aren't two different things. It's a deliberate blend of real humanitarian aid with a country's own strategic, economic, and diplomatic goals. So that leaves us with a pretty big question. As climate change makes devastating disasters like Cyclone Ditwah more and more common, is this what the future of foreign aid is going to look like? Will this blend of motives, this strategic compassion, become the new normal for how countries deal with each other in a world with more and more crises? It's definitely something to think about.